What's going on, everybody? Tim from Tim's Garage, and today I'm going to talk to you about phone mounts for my 2022 Triumph Trident 660. If you guys remember from my intro video, the thing is a complete blank slate, including no place for my phone. Now, one thing that you got to have is you got to have a phone mount so you can get your navigation, your directions, be able to tap through music, all of those things. And I'm going to be installing this Peak Design phone mount. You can see Peak Design right there. Phone mount to the handlebars of my Trident. This is the exact same phone mount that I use on my Triumph Thruxton. You can see it goes on to the handlebars like that. If you want to see the video that I did before between Quad Lock and Peak Design, I did a comparison video. Check the link here, maybe in the top, somewhere around here, and in the description. You can check out that video. But I'm going to do an install for you guys here, and then a review of this on the actual Trident once I get it installed up too. So I've got the mount, that's one thing. And then I also bought this pigtail charger and cable that plugs right into the trickle charger cables that are connected to the battery. So I'm going to plug that into the battery side, and then this is just a USB plug with a weather cap on it. And I'm going to mount this under the tank and then figure out a way to strap this or stick this down onto the bike, and then from there I'll run a cable with USB-C to my phone. So a couple of pieces to do. First, I want to get the Quad Lock installed on the bars so then I can figure out exactly where I want this to go, and then pull the tank off and then run the cable. So that's what we're going to do first. Now the trick with this is creating enough space to be able to fit the mount so it's not going down this angled part of the bar, which is kind of going away from me, and then of course down on the angle, because if I mount it there then the phone's going to be in a weird position, and ideally I'd like my phone like vertical, like right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up the controls here, try to bump that over to the grip, and then try to bump the lever mount here over to the controls to give me hopefully enough space on this side, because ideally you need to make sure you have that same clearance there. If I pull all of this together, looks like maybe I'll get like a ½ an inch, and so this should be still golden on this side. One thing to consider is I am going to be swapping these levers out, probably some Puig levers shortly, so I'm not super worried about that, but the first challenge here is to see about the spacing and how I can make that work. So I'm going to get these loosened up and see what kind of configuration is going to be best to be able to fit that mount on here without it turning down the bars in an awkward way. Okay, so I think I found my spot. Now, as many of you probably guessed, you actually can't move this. I think inside there's a little hole in the bar that keeps this, with a post inside here that keeps this in place, so you can't actually slide this way. So what I did is I just slid the lever control as far over as I possibly could, and then I was able to slide on my Peak Design mount. Let's see if I can get that squeezed over as far as I could too. Unfortunately, it hits the lever mount slightly right there, but that's okay. This thing is still pretty much out of the way and looks really good. So you can position the mount like this. That's one positioning. You can tilt the axis like this, and then you can also loosen and move around the magnetic pad itself. So the position that I found that I liked is actually like this. And so let me get this tightened down, and then I'm going to put the phone on there and show you guys, or the phone case, and then show you guys what it looks like in orientation. Okay, so here's the case sitting on there, exactly where my phone would be. And it's a pretty good position. So if I'm up on the bike, this is exactly what it'll look like. So it's nice and upright, looking good, and of course hovering there above the bar. I like the compactness of this Peak Design. It's pretty slick, and what's nice is that even with the block off here that I put on where the mirror mounts are, I've got a little space there in between, so you can see it kind of moves with the dampener. It has the dampener built right in, which was one of the reasons why I think this is superior to Quad Lock. And this is all metal, so this is really tight, really nice. It looks like it's actually supposed to be part of the bike. So that's kind of what that looks like. Let me show you what it looks like over here on my Thruxton again. So Thruxton, same thing. I actually mounted it from the top and have the bar coming from the top down across like that. So that's how I have the mount set up on my Thruxton. Similar over here, except this time I have the bar from the bottom, because if I did it from the top, the phone was gonna be in kind of a weird spot. But this looks like this is pretty good here. Probably is gonna collect a lot of bugs, but that's okay. You know, that's kind of how it has to be. So let me pop this off, show you guys. Just simple. They have this square lock. This is all magnetic with the 2 clips. You can see those move. So it's super easy. Boom on, boom off, boom on, boom off. So there's none of that twisting like Cloud Lock has. This is so much simpler. And with the magnet, it's really easy. So now next part here is to set up the wiring and figure out what I want to do exactly with the charging, which will come from the bottom around, and I'm probably gonna zip tie it to this wire guard, and then down through the tank, and then under the seat where I have the dovetail for the pigtail for the charger. But this is pretty clean so far. At least I have this part done and I don't have to keep my phone in my pocket. So let's get the cables installed. All right, back at it today. Got the sunset going down at home. Good time to work on the bike to finish up this video. So as you can see, I already have the pigtail for the trickle charger installed here. So with the cord, I'm gonna plan on running this under the tank and then up the front to the handlebar to the new mount. It looks like to get the tank going, we just gotta take that hex head bolt out and see what happens. Usually a tank just slides on. I'm not familiar with this bike, haven't taken it apart yet. This is brand new to me, guys. So I'm gonna take this off and then see if I can slide that tank out and then figure out how I'm gonna fish this wire through. So these sport bikes that have a little bit more plastic on them, I'm not used to, because I'm used to working on ones that are completely open, like beautiful Rhonda over there. This is semi-naked, so it has some plastic and stuff. And what I'm finding out is this tank is actually, this is just a cover that's over the actual tank. Anyway, surprise, surprise. This bolt is not the only thing that needs to come off. Unlike that, one bolt, tank is loose. There's a bolt here. There's this plastic shroud that covers. There's a bolt there. There's also a couple bolts here in the front, but I'm looking a little closer at this now that I actually have this piece of plastic lifted up. And I don't think I actually need, let's see if we can get some light in there. I don't need to actually pull the tank off at all. There's some cables right here. That one that's lit up right there, that runs through, and they actually come up through the frame in this area here, which is where I want my cable to come. So it's really hard to tell, but I got that gap there. It goes behind and comes up through there. And then I'm gonna pull my cable through. So what I gotta do is I gotta figure out how I'm gonna fish it, be able to fish it through that hole, through the frame, and then underneath here, can run along, and then through this area here where the throttle body is, and then eventually right there to the back to be able to plug in. So I think I just gotta work on trying to fish all this through this area. So I don't think we actually have to take the tank off at all, which is good because it looks like this actually might be a pain in the butt to do. Yeah, there's a piece of plastic here around the key thing, and that just popped right off, exposed the screws here. But again, this is actually just a plastic, see that? It's a plastic shroud around the actual tank. So this isn't even the tank, which is interesting. But I guess if you ever scratched that or ruined that, you could probably just get a new one to go on there, which is different than the straight up metal tank over there. All right, let's see if I can fish this cable through. So the trick to this, guys, just like if you were fishing a wire through a wall, is to put a guide wire through. So I've got this is actually a piece of a hanger that I carefully poked through very gently, didn't hit any cables, that I poked through that's coming out here, and then now is coming through the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this end, because this end is actually kind of bulky. I'm gonna tape this end here to the wire, and then I'm gonna pull it on through, and then I should have that at least fish through this difficult part here, and then I'll be able to kind of funnel it underneath the tank and then to the back. So let's get this taped up and attached right there. All right, I'm pretty happy with this. So let's start at the back. I was able to get the pigtail for the charger there, and I connected it to the pigtail that actually goes to the battery. So it's sticking out right here. I zip tied it right there to this part of the frame, or this mount, I guess, for the tank. So zip tie there. Let's go under here. So then this is the cable for it. So then I zip tied it to another cable right there. It passes behind this tank mount, goes underneath here, comes up through the hole here, which you can't even see anymore, but it's actually right here on the front. It's right there. I put it through the stock rubber tie here, which is pretty awesome. And then I have it following the cables up here by the handlebars through this clip, and then there is the plug. And I zip tied the plug nice and tight to this cable bundle that goes into the controls here. So from a distance, right, you can't even see that. Zoom in, there it is right in front. And if I don't want to use it, it's got that weatherproof cover. Oh, can't talk today. And when I'm ready to use it, then all I got to do is plug in whatever USB device, and I can actually be charging from there. Pretty slick. So there, now that's covered up. And that's wired on through again to the back. So the next step is phone up here, and then figuring out what I want to do with the cable situation then to plug in there. So I want to get a short cable. It needs to be USB to USB-C for my Google Pixel phone, and also for you iPhone users that now use that. So I got to think about what I'm going to do. I'm going to plug in a cable here and measure the length that it would take to get to the front of the or the bottom of the phone, excuse me. Now let me go over to the Triumph Thruxton real quick. I'll show you guys what I have there. So similar kind of setup, but this time I have this one really long cord with a USB-C L shape, and that goes underneath the tank and then plugs into the stock USB charger. So you can see this one, when I plug it in, boop, it plugs in right there at the bottom of the phone. This is kind of a rigid cable. It doesn't move a lot. And when I'm not using it, I actually clip it. It's hard to see, but there's a clip. Where is that clip? Right there. You can see that little hook. I'll actually double hook the cable and I tuck it down so it's out of the way. I'm hoping to find something that's kind of like this. It's a little rigid to use over here. But before I get to that, let's button up the bike, get it all put back together and looking good again. So looking at the USB cable now plugged in, kind of sits on top like that. And then I have my phone case situated just like how I would then need to have a cable hooked up. And so I'm trying to figure out what the best option is here. It's definitely not very long. This cable is way too long, clearly. So I'm gonna need to go on Amazon and get a shorter one in order to wrap up this video. Looks like it's maybe 6 inches. I'll mark this once I have 2 hands free to be able to see that length. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm gonna wanna do with the cable itself. So with the phone's plugged in and riding and the cable's there, wind resistance to the cable, no big deal. If I take the phone off, then obviously then this would dangle down when I'm like parked or something like that. So maybe I want to get some sort of another like stock strap, kind of like that one that's down there for here on the handlebar, like a rubber strap to kind of hold it. I don't want to zip tie it because I don't necessarily want to keep the phone cable all the time, but if I have a rubber strap or some way to attach this so that way it is not so permanent. Let's go underneath here. Let's see what it's like underneath. So underneath it could follow. I could potentially zip tie here, and then it could come right up like there, like that. But again, yeah, maybe it's here. Maybe it's something there around that to hold it, but I don't want it to be permanent. I don't want it to be zip tied because I want to be able to plug this cable in as I need it. I don't know. All right, let me measure this and then see what I can find, and then I'm gonna hop on Amazon and we're gonna come back and we're gonna finish up this video. All right, quick update since I've taken the bike out. I decided to move the mount from here down to here. And the reason is because it's kind of sitting out a little far out here. Like the phone is maybe sitting out here. It's gonna get a lot of bugs, maybe stones and stuff. I wanted it to be a little more protected, a little more tucked here to the front. So I was able to move it right up, butting it up against the triple tree, or the handlebar mount, I should say, right here, and get it positioned enough where there's a good angle for the phone to be here, and it's barely cutting off anything on the screen, which is really nice. So I'm gonna go here. I also got my cord from Amazon, which is a 180-degree bend USB-C cord to USB to plug into my USB outlet now that I have. This is about an 8-inch cord, and it's actually a little longer than I'm gonna need, so I'm probably gonna relocate this a little bit further down. And which I actually might like, because then this is a little bit more out of the way and less visible. So I'm probably gonna relocate this down here a little bit and then have this maybe hook into there, but I gotta see. But the main dilemma right now is that this actually won't plug into my phone with the Peak Design case on. The ending here, where the actual plug is, let's see if I can get this to focus, there you go. So the plug itself is the right size, obviously, but the plastic there, that plastic piece is too bulky and then won't slide into that gap of the phone case itself. So I'm gonna have to get a little crafty. I might do some dremeling here to cut back on some of this plastic to get it to be able to pop in place. So let's Dremel that and see if I can get that to click into the phone with the case on. All right, guys, I'm actually gonna finish up this video with my GoPro camera because I wanted to show you what it actually looks like with the phone mounted onto the handlebars, which you can see. So where to start? Okay, let's start with the plug. So as I mentioned, I was gonna have to get a little crafty with the plug itself here. I didn't need to end up dremeling it. I actually just took a razor blade and cut this plastic off to give me a little bit more space, which you can see allows for that now to snap right in place. And just for reference, you can see it is charging right there. So I've got my 180-degree bend, goes around the back, and I got the cable plugged into the socket. But before I get to that, let's go here. I picked up these little rubber straps, which are actually similar to the stock straps that you see here, these stock cable straps that have this little button that go around. I found a kit on Amazon. There'll be a link in the description below with all of the other parts. So I got one here on the handlebar, and then I also added one right here, which you can see. This one's a little looser, but this one's holding the cable, the charging cable now onto the main cable bundle. So that's there. And then lastly, I decided to move the actual plug itself from the top where it was here to underneath down here, which you could see. So it's a little more hidden. It's less bulky sticking up here, so it's a little more stealthy. So I've got the plug, the USB then is plugged into there, and then I have this cable with these two cable straps, cable ties, whatever you want to call them, that look really sleek. They look stock, now plugged in. And so that's what the whole setup looks like. I think it actually looks pretty clean, like from the front. You can barely notice that stuff. I have that one zip tie here, which isn't terrible. And then the plug and everything is just down here underneath, which is cool. So I can choose to unplug this, remove it, put the plug on so that's weatherproof. Like if it were raining or something, I could pull this plug out of these two straps, put it in my pocket, whatever I wanted to do there. And then if I decide to remove the phone and I don't want this dangling, let's show you what that looks like. And boy, guys, that's what I love about the Peak Design. Look at how easy that is. Off, on, none of that finicking like you do with the quad lock. But anyway, so I could just take this and kind of just tuck this like that. And then that's what it looks like with the phone off. Phone on, clicked in place, boom, plugged in, and now it's charging again, just like that. So I think it's really clean. Again, links to everything I bought in the description below, including the Peak Design mount, which again, I absolutely love. I prefer it over quad lock. I have used quad lock before. And if you want to see my quad lock versus peak design video, you can check for the link in the description below or the link somewhere on the video. So until next time, we'll call this done.